Hey everybody, it's Tuesday, it's Samp&Chance, and here we go on this episode of Samp&Chance, guys. We are going to take a look at the build to SummerSlam AEW 1 hour match for their 250th show. We're going to get into that. Also, the Hurt Business reuniting in AEW. All this and so much more on this episode of Samp&Chance. So sit back, relax, and thank you for letting us into your ears. Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Samp&Chance. I am your host, Bobby Sampson. He is Mr. Chance Michaels. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing pretty good. How about yourself?
Awesome, brother man. Happy Tuesday. Here we are. Summer. Would this be considered the dog days of summer now?
I think so. That's what they say, yeah.
Fair enough, man. Yeah, it's only baseball on the TV. The Olympics are coming up this weekend, so I'm kind of really excited for the boxing portion of the Olympics.
Yeah, I don't mind the swimming and the track and field. This is not bad.
You know what? Olympics is one of those times where you become an expert of sports that you never watch until every 4
Exactly.
years. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
exactly.
Like for me, it's diving.
Yeah,
At
that's
the
fun to watch
beginning,
too.
at the beginning of diving, I'm kind of like, okay, this is this, but then by the end, I'm no expert, but I'm like, oh, like he could have done it this or that. Like
And I
you all
believe the
become
soccer,
experts.
like with Argentina and all those teams, are U20 only. So no, you won't see any of the messy guys. Everybody's got to be 20 and younger. So that makes for some interesting soccer. So it's always, Olympics are always fun.
What's good? I mean, amateur sports provide us the professionals of the future, right? At least it shows us in boxing. I don't
Yeah.
know, at other sports, what a professional diver would make or what have you. Where do they go after that? So a lot of those sports kind of just end at the Olympics, right? I
Yeah,
mean,
a lot of them.
for the most part. I mean, I guess in figure skating, I guess they do their Disney shows and stuff like that when they turn pro.
Gymnastic guys go to Cirque du Soleil and stuff.
Right, right. So I mean things like that, but you get lost in the shuffle then, right? You're covered up in your makeups and stuff. So no one really knows who you are unless you're doing one of those figure skating kind of shows. But
Yeah,
anyways, man, we're a wrestling show. What do you want to start with, my brother? I want to start with AEW if you're cool with that.
let's do it.
All right, so AEW, they did their 250th anniversary show last Thursday. The show opens up with MJF against Will Ospreay, which I thought was okay. I had no problem with it. But then they turned it into a Broadway match. And a Broadway match, for those who don't know, it's basically a 1 hour match.
Yeah.
It's not an Iron Man match. It's just a 1 hour match that these guys were gonna throw out. And they really, I'm thinking, okay, this is we're taking way too long. My personal opinion, and I shared this with you off the air, that they could have done this match, given us 20 minutes, thrown a swerve in there, not the actual swerve, but thrown a
Yeah.
swerve in there just to kind of keep us going. You gave us everything in one shot. Your response was?
Well, I get what you're saying. I don't disagree, but I also see what Tony's thinking. He's thinking this is the 250th show. Nobody watches Dynamite. So I'm going to give you guys a heck of a match. I wouldn't have done an hour. Hour's too long. I'm going to put my two best guys out there. They're going to have a great match. We're going to have a clear-cut winner, which MJF went over clean. It was a great match. I mean, match of the week by far. Some people are saying this is one of the greatest matches ever on TV. I wouldn't go that far, but this could be a pay-per-view match. But the problem is nobody buys AEW pay-per-view. So they'll get what else option do you have? Just put it on free TV. Hopefully it gets a buzz and you tune in next week to watch Dynamite. So I get what he was doing in a way.
The options he has is exactly what you said. You put the match on TV, you give 20 minutes, and you build it up towards something,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like you look, you could go to one of two ways. They never touch until they have a pay-per-view match. That's not going to get you buys. What did
No.
we talk about before? It's like those cliffhangers. That's what brings us back to wrestling all the time. It's the cliffhanger. What's going to happen next? You gave everything away. This is very reminiscent of Hogan versus Goldberg at the Georgia Dome on a Monday Night Nitro. You know what I mean? That's a pay-per-view match. You didn't need to give that away. You
Yeah.
want to build up the people to come back every week, right? Like, I mean, they did a great job with Mariah May 2 weeks ago. I was invested. I came back because I wanted to see what she had to say. She disappointed me.
Yeah.
That follow-up was completely disappointing to what she actually did. They could have done so much better with that. But then again, I'm not there booking, neither are you. But back to the Will match, yeah, amazing match. I enjoyed it thoroughly. Probably the best thing I've seen on AEW TV in a very, very long
That's
time.
probably the best wrestling match I've seen on TV in probably the last few months for any company. They really went out. Like you said, it's a pay-per-view quality match. They threw it on free TV. But I think usually I don't defend Tony, but I think his thinking would have been, hey, Nobody watches this show. Nobody buys my papers. They get like what 80,000, 100,000 buys. So I'll give it to you guys for free. Get the ratings up, which they were up. They're almost at 800,000. So they gained an extra 100,000 viewers. Hopefully they come in next week and watch it. But it was a great match. I mean, they outperformed everybody and any company. Like they went all out. It was a hell of a match.
But what's the follow up from this? You've given everything away. That's the problem I have. And I keep beating that bag, man. I don't mean to be, because it's like now based on past, things with Tony Khan and AEW and their booking, this is gonna fall flat on his face. I mean, they're gonna.
I just think he needs the ratings, right? He has to get these ratings up. He's got to get the people back. So what other way to do it? Put your two best guys out there, let them go for hours too long, way too long. I went done in 20 minutes, but I guess he figured, hey man, I'm desperate.
You've done the swerve thing. You could have done it all in a way where, I think the only benefit that comes out of this match is the fact that MJF won and he took the strap. Again, here's the thing: the good guy is best at chasing, right? So if Will is the proverbial good guy in this storyline, he's going to be an amazing chaser. And you look at MJF, he's a good wrestler and everything.
Oh yeah,
it just shows you how
he's in great shape too. He came back in better shape. I got to give him credit. He looks good.
No, yeah, and he was in good shape when he left. So I mean, to come back even better than what you look like. And speaking of that, I want to touch on that. I know you're hard on LA Knight and stuff like that. I implore you and everyone else to go listen to the podcast he did with Cody Rhodes on Cody Rhodes podcast recently, and he talks about, like, I'm surprised after you listen to him talk, you're gonna change your tune on LA Knight.
Yeah, I'll check. I've seen it come across YouTube. I didn't listen to it, but I'll check it out.
Like he talks about the body, and he talks about preparation.
He's in great shape. He looks like $1 million bucks.
But he talks about everything that you talk about, in essence.
Yeah, right? I'll check it out for sure.
Yeah, definitely, and it's on point. Like even Cody, both of them. Like I mean, this is something. It's not obviously it's a shoot interview, but it's done really really well. And for 35 minutes, you can't go wrong. I listened to it driving home from work.
Of all the matches on SummerSlam, that's probably Drew and Punk, and then Logan and LA Knight are the two matches I'm looking forward to the most, because LA Knight and Logan Paul are going to tear the house down. LA Knight will get over, but
next week for their preview show. But back to AEW, like I said, I mean, if they could have just done 20 minutes, even if MJF won the title, right, in 20 minutes, you chase them, you build this up to All Out in England or the pay-per-view in Wembley, right? I mean, that's Ospreay's hometown. Everything is there. And he did amazing when he was there last year. I mean, hands down, in my opinion, outside of Kenny Omega, I don't think he'll ever be the same again, but this is the best wrestler they have on their roster right now as well, Ospreay. That dude can make a broomstick look amazing. And I was telling you about this guy 3 years ago.
He's good. He needs a little more character, but he works his butt off. He's by far their best. I mean, MJF maybe is the best package. He could wrestle and talk. If you want to say complete character to everything you want in wrestler, MJF has it. Will can't talk very well, but Okada, he's shot. He can barely move in that ring. He's so slow. Like Omega just took too many injuries, had too many crazy matches. Daniel Bryan's still one of the best. He still goes hard. He puts on some great matches. So yeah, good for AEW. They put on the best match of the week by far, and probably the best match on TV in the last little while.
Yeah,
it was that good.
Well, I mean, it just goes to show what you can do when you have all the time, right?
Yeah.
Let's just be fair. I mean, if with the amount of time they had, they were able to pull everything out and put that match on. And a testament to both guys to be able to go an hour. My only complaint again on that was it was an hour on a 250th episode. You really limited everyone else to seconds after that to get their stuff in, right? So even a half an hour, man, I would have been happy with.
Yeah, I just think that he's thinking, man, I need to get the ratings up. The ratings have gone down. I've lost like 200,000 viewers. Let's get him back up. He got about 100,000 of them back, so maybe this will get them back to that 800,000 mark or something. We'll see this Wednesday. This Wednesday, though, they got to bring a great show. Coming off that show, they won't be able to top it, but they got to have a pretty darn good show.
Well, dude, like
they got a lot of buzz right now.
Well, I'm going to tune in. I'm going to definitely be there. I'm sure you're going to be there as well. But here's the thing: you gave the world heavyweight champion. This is the guy, the leader of your locker room, hypothetically speaking.
Yeah.
You give him 5 minutes at the end of the show.
I know. I don't think Swerve's a great champion, to be honest. I don't think he's a good champ.
Well, I mean,
hopefully Brian or somebody gets it off from here.
You know what? You got to give everyone an opportunity to get a taste of it, build it up. I mean, maybe his second run, his third one will be better. I don't think anyone really saw John Cena as a world champion when he beat JBL for it at the beginning.
Yeah.
And look where that guy went. He's one away from being the greatest of ever, right? Which I think he's going to get in this last run.
He'll get it.
He's going to get it. He'll drop it.
They're already telling you that he's the great. McMahon started that before he left. He's the greatest of all time. So you already know he's getting that. He's going to beat Flair's record just to cement. He deserves it, right? He deserves it.
Well, I mean, is it hard to not? Is it? I mean, it is arguable, but who can deny the fact what he's accomplished?
He's done a lot. There's only one thing that he'll always have a little bit of a knock on him. He never went heel. He would have been great, but you can't say we wouldn't know what he done as a heel because he never did it. McMahon wouldn't let him, but Hogan was great as both. So we don't know what Cena would have done.
Well, you know what? I think Cena would have been a good heel because he started off as a heel, and I think at that stage in his career, with everything, the psychology and everything that he's gained up until that point, I think he would have been an amazing heel.
People forget John Cena is one of the most hated. Triple H, John Cena, and Roman Reigns are three of the most hated men to ever be in wrestling. When he did that ECW show, those indie crowd was booing him out of the place. They did not like him. A built guy, an athletic guy. It's everything they're against. So those kind of fans kind of got older and kind of moved on. The newer fans have embraced him, but he was a very, very hated guy for a long time. They booed every time he won.
You look at those three names, okay? Triple H. Obviously, I have you have your alliances to Shawn. I have mine to Triple H. I'll always be a Triple H guy.
Mm-hmm.
But if you look at John Cena, you look at Roman Reigns, and Triple H to a certain extent, but those first two guys that I named, booed relentlessly.
Hated. Yeah.
Now they're begging for them.
Mm-hmm.
For both of them.
Yeah, I know they're chanting for Reigns. We want Roman. We want Roman.
Roman hasn't even been gone maybe 3 months now. He's been away for 3 months, but man, he's already a babyface.
Yeah.
Right? They realize what you lose when these guys are gone. And
man was right again. He knew Roman was the man to do that. You know, he just has this thing about him.
I think what worked for Roman was the pandemic. You know, having the Thunderdome era, not having fans in that stadium, being able to control that portion of it, that portion of the presentation, allowed Roman to really build the character so that when fans came back, they had no choice.
Oh yeah.
Right. So that if COVID helped anybody, it was Roman Reigns in developing the character to what
he did a good job.
He did a great job, but I mean, it helped because I mean, the fans have a way of kind of trying to take over things. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, the fans are probably the biggest characters now. You know.
No, that's it, right? Like, I mean, if you think about it, when Roman won the Royal Rumble and the crowd was booing, they pushed The Rock out there to try to put him over, and that didn't work. And look at where we are today, man. The final boss, and everybody wants Roman Reigns.
Yeah, I know.
Crazy. All right, over to WWE. Let's touch on this. Bobby Lashley, MVP, are basically no longer with the company. They're not renewing their contracts. They're just going to let them run out. Word has it that MVP and Lashley want to reunite with Shelton Benjamin and restart a new version of the Hurt Business in AEW.
Well, the thing is, MVP is a mid-carder at best. Like, no, I hate to be rude. Nobody really cares about MVP, right? He came back. He's been irrelevant for so many years. How could they let Bobby Lashley go? And I was thinking that you got a guy who's built, he's athletic, he dresses party. He's everything you want in a wrestler, right? He's got it all. And then I'm watching the Raw main event last night. I'm seeing JD freaking McDonough and Sami Zayn on the main event. Here's a thought about something. If you were to take a picture of Bobby Lashley and take a picture of Sami Zayn and just go to a random 100 people, don't even know what wrestling is, and say, which one of these is a wrestler, which one of these is a star? 99 out of 100 will tell you it's this guy. So I don't know why they let a special athlete, a physical specimen like Bobby Lashley go. MVP, whatever, who cares? But then you got guys like Sami Zayn main eventing again. And it's just like, I don't blame Bobby for being frustrated because they really dropped the ball here with them. And
well, okay, I can see that. I mean,
Tony Khan should grab him.
Well, look, I think this goes back to all of the Bray Wyatt time, you know, like where his match got canceled at WrestleMania. And this is nothing on Bray Wyatt. This is not Bray Wyatt's fault. This is nobody's fault. This happens, right? Giving him the Andre Memorial thing. But ever since then, he's never been able to collect any kind of traction with the fans either, though. I mean, here's the one thing. Bobby's a body guy. He can do all that thing, but he lacks charisma, right?
He wrestles good, though, right?
But he
wrestles. And I'm thinking to myself, like, where's Braun? Why wasn't Braun Strowman wasn't on Raw last night? You know, where are these guys? Why are we putting out JD McDonough, these little dudes like that? Like that just look like they just look like I want to be rude, but they don't look very good. And we got Braun, we got Omos and Bobby.
Okay, Braun's dealing with an injury again.
But still, though, bring him out there and talk. He was just on Raw. It's like
I get it. I hear what you're saying, man.
I'm telling this is a whole new when they say this is a new era of WWE, it's completely a whole new era because it's the land of, I want to say, the little guys now, where the guys that you wouldn't think are stars, they're trying to make them the stars. It's not going to work, and it's too bad they let Bobby go because he was the most pure athlete they had in WWE without Lesnar there, and he's gone. And we got Sami Zayn and JD McDonough headlining Raw.
Look, from what I understand, they offered him money. They offered him a new contract. He said no.
I don't blame him if he did.
Right, but I mean, I don't think he's going to accomplish much more anywhere else that he goes. I mean,
he's probably he misses the old regime. The more those guys were more about athletes and bodies and more about physicalness. These guys are just like, so hopefully he doesn't. Hopefully he goes out and does well wherever he goes. And
I want to bring that up here because I mean, like again, and I implore you, listen to that podcast with LA Knight and Cody, talk about this. And you know, the one thing that he said that really makes a lot of sense here, and I'm talking about LA Knight, is we grew up at a time watching wrestling when it was all about the body and all about the big guys and stuff like that. There's only a handful of guys that could be, you know, well, I mean, in the 80s and stuff like that, it was butt size, right?
Yeah.
You could be a big physical specimen, or you could have been like a Dusty.
Yeah.
Right. But the thing here with Dusty is he was able to overcome the body because of the personality and everything else that
he could talk.
The character.
Yeah.
Right. Where a lot of those guys said, oh, well, I don't have to do this and that. Now, if you look at wrestling today, there are a handful of guys and only a handful that make it to this level with that kind of body. And we're talking Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, and you know, there's a couple other guys like that as well. They're the
Eddie Kingston.
Yeah, they're the select few that can make it over to the mainstream where most of them don't. I mean, LA Knight made a point saying that he didn't know indie wrestling existed until later on. Up until that point, all he ever watched was WWE and WCW, and he saw the body. So in this interview, he says that, look, man, I wanted to become a wrestler, but I was 165 pounds. And I said to myself, I won't start training until I get to 200. Right. And because that's all he knew. And then he got to the indie scene and he saw all these guys. He goes, oh my God. Well, you know, like you can be any shape, size, or form, but you're not going to get very far. Right. So it's kind of like, you know, this is what we're used to as fans because of what we saw as kids. And this
I think when you're in shape and you look like when you look at Bobby Lashley or Brock Lesnar, you look at these guys, like, oh my God, these guys are special. They could kick anybody's butt. They're just amazing athletes. And then you watch a guy like McDonough and Sami Zayn, where the average dude in the bar would smack these guys sideways and they couldn't do nothing about it. So that takes away the specialness and the realness from it. Because when the average dude in a construction site can beat up their main stars, it doesn't feel. I know wrestling's a work, but it doesn't feel as quite legit as it could be.
No, I get that. I get that completely. But again, I mean, it's a.
Like, how could a kid look up to Sami Zayn and be, besides him being a goofy guy, like, I want to look like that and be like that? Well, he's pale, he's out of shape, he dresses like he's a homeless guy. And I get he's a cool hippie. I get that's his look, but you're not going to get a bunch of guys being like, I want to grow up to be like him. When you look at a guy like a Hulk Hogan or a John Cena.
Sami is that guy that everyone can look to, the guy who overcomes and perseveres. That's his character, right? That's the way they sell Sami Zayn. I get what you're saying, right?
Except when he's beating up Gunther and who else? And Braun Breaker clean,
because right? It's always that David versus Goliath type of story with the guy, right? I mean, that's what gets him over. It's just like that overcoming adversity.
And another thing that I've been noticing too is I've been noticing the way Cody's been dressing. And yeah, he dresses nice, but he dresses like he's a heel. He wears the watches, he wears the suit. So that's a Ric Flair look. I get it's a tribute to Ric Flair, but you're dressing like a heel. You're talking like a heel. You're trying to use these big words where the average moron in the crowd doesn't know what you're saying. And so he's a face, but he's dressing like a heel and he's talking like a heel. And how many heels do you see wear these suits like that and wear the watches? Only guys I've ever seen, or how many faces are heels that do that? Flair, Evolution. So it's like,
again, maybe this is
everything is so backwards in wrestling now. Everything is, what's cool is not cool, and what's not good is good. It's just complete.
Well, if you remember during the Attitude Era, I'm glad you said that. This is kind of, ties right into it. If you remember the Attitude Era, every time they came to Toronto, it was always Bizarro Raw. Every time they went to Montreal, whenever they came to Canada, they called it Bizarro Raw or Bizarro SmackDown because the heels would be cheered and the faces would be booed, and to throw up the whole momentum of every show, in essence, during that time, whenever they came up this way, because they just kind of, Brett would be cheered, but then he'd be booed over there.
Yeah, everything's different when you come out here.
right? But I mean, maybe, it's just like I said, this is just the new direction things are kind of going into, man. And then we just kind of have to, you know, accept the fact that we know what we like and where we came from and what we're used to, but things are changing. But Bobby Lashley, man, like I said, man, I mean, body and everything, but he lacks that charisma.
Yeah, but so does 90% of the roster. So does JD McDonough. So does all these guys. And it's just like it's a new regime, and I get it. They're trying to like the NXT guys, their boys are trying to give their boys the shine. But you can't let letting special athletes like that go.
You can't say they're not giving them opportunity, though, bro. They put him on the number one show, which I think is SmackDown at the moment, just because of where it is and what it's putting out there. I mean, I think the storyline for the heavyweight title is better over at Raw, but let's call it what it is. It's on Fox. It's the bigger show, right? They put him on Fox. They put him with the Street Profits to kind of get everything going. They couldn't get any traction going.
Yeah, but neither can the AOP, and they keep throwing them out. Neither can Karrion Kross.
I get that. I get that. So, I mean, the crowd has to play a role in it as well, right? I mean, if they're not reacting to these guys, then what can you do? I mean, it's just the business. It's just
no. I get it's part of it, but it's just also these guys got a certain guys. They got their guys that they like, and for some reason, it's Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens, and I just don't understand it. You can't let a special athlete like that go. That Bobby Lashley is one of the best athletes ever in wrestling, a legit fighter.
The dude has not had a fight since May.
What's that?
He has not been on TV. He's not had a fight since May.
Who?
Bobby Lashley.
Yeah, I know. I don't understand.
His last fight was at a house show. He was injured. He actually was injured. That's why he hasn't.
Yeah, I know, but I get it. But when you got a special athlete like that, you find a way to
do with him, though. What do you keep
anything?
Doing with this?
You can put him singles, put him with anybody.
If you can find something want to, though, what if he doesn't want to?
Cross, you can find something for JD McDonough. You can find something for Bobby Lashley. You can do anything. Put him against anybody.
I get it, but what if he doesn't want to?
Well, we don't know. I assume he does. I just don't think he got the push he wanted.
He's bitter because he asked them to put the Hurt Business back together, and they said no.
Yeah, I don't know the reasoning, but they need to find a way. When you got special athletes like that,
you look at his factions; they haven't worked. I'm not shitting on Bobby Lashley. I'm just trying to show the point here that
he doesn't need a faction. Just let him be a monster. Let him go by himself.
Right, and when he was a monster, he was doing okay. I mean, there's no lack of trying with the guy. Look, I mean, Drew was your champion during the COVID era, right? When they had no fans. They put the strap on Bobby when
that was different. That's Mini Max kind of days. These are over.
No, I get it, but they gave him the opportunities. They did everything with him, right? So it's not he didn't have any opportunities.
No, I'm not saying he should be world champ, but he needs to be around in the mix, just fighting guys, throwing guys around, and it's just like, but they're getting away from those kind of athletes. Is what I'm saying. The JD McDonough and Sami Zayn, that's a new thing they're going with on Raw for some reason.
I have a feeling, and I could be wrong, and I'm just, this is just a thought that just came to my mind as you were saying it. You look at Omos, you look at Bobby Lashley, you look at Braun Strowman, these guys are bigger than life, like you said. They come out, they should destroy everybody. I think they're going more in a reality base where these guys, it seems a bit more, just for the crowd. I'm not saying you or me, but for the current audience and for the people that are really into it, the ones that are putting their monies into it, it's more of a reality base where the everyday man can see themselves in this position. I know what you're talking about. I guess,
but Sami Zayn can't beat a Gunther and a Braun Strowman clean. The guy can barely lift the milk. You know what I mean?
So without saying their names, Cody and LA Knight, we're basically talking about the Kevin Owens and the Sami Zayns that are in the company right now without saying their names, right? Mm-hmm. But all right, man.
This is a new era of wrestling and WWE, and we're going to keep seeing more and more of little guys out of shape being pushed, and more of the Bobby Lashley guys being pushed aside. That's just kind of what they're going with. It's going to backfire. One more thing before we get off of WWE, that promo with Orton and Cody Rhodes, I thought was such badly written. You're my brother, you're this and that. So we all know what's going to happen now. After SummerSlam, Orton's going to turn on Cody. They're going to go at it. It's like the writing is so high schoolish. It is so bad. And I don't know what they're doing. Get some Hollywood guys in there and bring the show up, because that was a bad segment. I thought it's just too predictable. We know what's going to happen now. Orton turns on Cody. They go at it.
I believe we're going to see probably new people come in and things like that before the Netflix deal starts to kick in. And I think we'll see a change.
And a lot of this, I can't blame it on Triple H, because he's not the boss. No, he gets to book the matches. Ari's the boss, but Ari's not a wrestling guy. There's no way Vincent McMahon would allow this crap to happen like that. Even like, hey, no, you're not a main eventer. You go here, like, but it's just like we can't always blame it on Triple H. But at the end of the day, he has to answer to Artie. So maybe Artie's saying, "Do this." I don't know what's going on, but
Why a lot of it's coming
yeah,
from Ari. A lot of it, majority of it is coming from the TKO group, right? I mean, this is basically what they're saying to do. I mean, here's
he
something
says he's hands off and it's all up to Triple H, but I don't buy that.
I don't buy it either, and I don't buy that to be the case in UFC either, because I personally believe just based and this, I'm gonna go UFC here, okay, for a second.
Mm-hmm.
They did their show over there with Turkish, His Excellency, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's very close with TKO, Turkish is, as he is with Eddie Hearns and those guys. So I get the feeling that Dana really doesn't want to do anything with these guys, and he's more happy working with the Yaz Island and the Saudis, or the Abu Dhabi guys. That's more his side of, if he's in Saudi. You
Mm-hmm.
can feel that. Me personally, I just feel that Dana doesn't really care for the stuff that TKO wants them to do. I won't be surprised if Dana's gone in the next 2 to 3 years, man.
If they get rid of Daniel, they'll get rid of Triple H and they'll clean house and start a new regime on all of it, right?
Well, that's what I'm thinking, because I just get a feeling that he's not down with that side of it. He's not into the rehab
But the
season.
thing is, UFC is so popular. He puts on such great matches that it's hard to get rid of a guy like this. He's such a larger than life character, right? But we'll see. What do you think could happen?
I think it's just because he doesn't have, like, he had full autonomy at one point. Now he doesn't per se. Like, he's still very high up there. Don't get me wrong. But you look
But
at
Ari's trying to say that he sits back and he lets Triple H and Dana White make the matches they want, and he doesn't say anything. That's what he tries to claim.
I don't agree with that, because at the end of the day, all the deals that they're making go through Ari.
Yeah,
Right?
it's his money, not their money. So
maybe he's not interfering in the day-to-day, like, okay, matchmaking and things like that in UFC, or the way they're booking their talent or writing stories. Maybe he'll step in with the new writers and stuff. I mean, he is a Hollywood producer, right?
mm-hmm.
There's no shortage of guys that he could pull. So
that's what I'm saying. He's got the connections to all the good writers. So maybe
yeah,
we'll see what happens.
well,
We'll see.
just wait to see. Like, I mean, you got to keep in mind, we're coming off a writer's strike. We're coming off this strike. So everyone's just kind of finding their ways again. I mean, I know, yeah, dude, it hasn't even been a year.
But Ari has to understand one thing. I don't know if you know how well he knows wrestling. You cannot allow wrestling guys to write the shows because they're stuck in their own little wrestling bubble. They don't understand. I don't know if they don't understand the outside world or they don't care. But wrestling guys have never been good at writing shows. Never, ever.
I think having The Rock on the board and having Brian Gershwitz, who was probably one of the best writers during the time, in my opinion. I mean, he's gone off. He left WWE. He's Rock's right-hand guy.
Yeah, he writes with The Rock. Yeah.
I mean, Gershwitz, I think things will turn around in terms of that. Once Rock finishes filming, he comes back. He's going to implement a bit more here and there. Like, we're not behind the stage, right? We don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
But ultimately, at the end of the day, like,
and another thing is they're giving the character the superstars and men and women on Raw too much rope. They're doing their own promos anymore. That's not scripted. They're kind of getting a little more freedom, and you can see in the lack of their acting, so to speak. It's like that Liv Morgan whole Rhea thing yesterday was so cheesy and so corny, and just like they get so much freedom. And then you see Michael Cole is actually laughing. I'm thinking if McMahon heard him laugh like that, he'd have kicked them off the air like that. This is what I mean. They got a little more freedom to be themselves. At the end of the day, the product isn't as good because the acting is bad. Some of these people are not good actors. No. And you let them act as like this is like high school stuff.
Dude, I've never heard of a porn actress or actor to be very good either, though, right? I mean, it is what it is. I mean, it's not their fault.
But you got to script their promos. If the promo don't sound good, don't let them go out there and freelance it if it's not going to be good. I have a little more pride in the product, but the thing is, when it's not your money and it's not your actual company and you're booking it, you don't have as much care because of it's not really my money. I don't lose anything, So I think that's part of it.
Gone are the days where Pat. Oh, speaking of which, Pat Patterson. Now, I've talked about Young Rock before, right? In the final season, I actually caught up on the final season here, and I saw this a week ago. There was this episode where they go back into the 1960s with a young Pat Patterson, and he was talking about the Royal Rumble in the 60s. Now, if you look at most of the booking and everything that we talk about and all the good stuff that we talk about, Pat Patterson was around for it. When Pat died, that's when the decline started. Because I went and started looking at no. I started to go back and take a look at it, and a lot of what you're talking about, lack of this, lack of that, Pat brought to the table there when he was behind the scenes with Vince.
Oh yeah, no, Pat was good at what he did.
But Pat was amazing, and having to lose him, to retirement or whatever, but he was more of a consultant into the end. But just not having his year really showed, and it is showing now more so. I mean, I'll use a baseball, example to this. Okay, Mark Shapiro, who is currently in charge, the general manager for the Toronto Blue Jays. And I'm not a Blue Jays fan by any stretch of the imagination, but he's made that organization shit, right? And this is evident because he did the exact same thing in Cleveland. Now, Cleveland's decent again, somewhat,
Mhm.
but you look at what Shapiro has done in Toronto and what he did in Cleveland is pretty much similar. Tore it down. The only good thing that he did there was overseeing the rebuild of the Sky Dome inside.
I think a lot of it with the Blue Jays, a lot of people, a lot of Americans players don't want to live in Toronto.
Yeah.
It's cold.
Yeah.
There's so much better place you can live, so that hurts them a little bit too.
No, I get it, but I'm just saying, same example. Losing Pat Patterson, in my opinion, and especially after watching that episode, then going back and watching, what Pat did, and actually started to watch after he wasn't really there. A lot of what you're talking about, I feel, is because we're missing Vince, but we're also missing Pat. That
Yeah,
kind of
he was huge.
that kind of thinking, that kind of mentality, that kind of, if you have a wrestling guy like Pat Patterson who can think like that and have
Well,
that,
yeah, he's a rare except yeah, he had a great mind.
right? And you watch it after he's gone. This is when that decline started. That's just
You
my
put him
thing.
and McMahon together, they create magic. Yeah,
Well, most of the best stuff happened at poolside, right? It was
a
him
lot
and
of it. Yeah, McMahon, Vince, and Ed Ferraris just sitting there writing the shows and cranking them out.
even before that, even before Vince and Ferraro came in, it was Pat and Vince at the poolside. I mean, they're the
Yep.
ones that were doing it all up until maybe the early 2000s. So most of that attitude era came from Vince and Pat.
Well, Vince Russo and Ed Ferraro wrote a ton of it too, but yeah.
It came in near the end, midway through, but majority of it was through them, right? And whatever those two did had to go through them anyways.
Yeah, like Vince Russo always says, we had all the great ideas, but Vince had to say yes or no to it to stomp it out. So yeah.
Right. And then that was the downfall for Vince Russo is he went to WCW and there was no one there to tell him yes
Well,
or
you know
no.
why he went to WCW? You know what happened? He went into Vince's office and said, "Hey, I want these days off because I have a young kid." And Vince is like, "Hire a nanny." That's what he said. And then Vince's like, "Well, I can't work with that." Vince and McMahon's like, "Okay, see ya." That was it. That's why he left because he said McMahon was rude to him, said hire a nanny.
Yeah. 100%, man. All right, brother, man. We have gone here. I think this has been probably a pretty calm show, man.
Yeah, it's not
I've
too
enjoyed
bad.
it. It's been fun. It's been good. All right, next week we will preview SummerSlam. The card is coming together nicely. Not too bad, not too shabby here.
Yeah.
Every title is basically on the line now that we know pretty much. We know who's going for Intercontinental. We know a US title. Both women titles are on the line. Both heavyweight titles are on the line. We got that. So now we're just looking to see what the filler matches are going to be. And we probably get all
Well, they got 7 matches so far, so there might be 1 or 2 more. That's pretty much the card.
Well, that is pretty much a card. If you think about it, everything's on the line here. Cody's going up against Solo. We got Damian and Gunther, which I thought was really good way to open up the show.
Mhm.
I had no problem with that opening. It was a nice little build there.
Yeah.
So we got those two guys. I guess the only match, Punk versus Drew with Seth as guest referee. We'll talk about that next week. What else do we have here? Bailey against Nia Jax. Rhea versus Liv, where I think Dom's going to turn on Rhea and sign
Yeah.
up with Liv. I just have a feeling that's just how it's going to play out. So yeah, we're pretty much stacked here, man. I think this is hard. I think the only match. So it's like a Night of Champions. Every title is on the line here.
Yeah.
Except the women's title. I don't think the women's tag team title I don't know what's going on with the tag team titles yet. On either
They might
brand.
have 1 more match, but it's pretty much set in stone.
Pretty much here, pretty much. All right, brother, man, let's get this Tuesday rolling. Everybody, it is the beginning of the week, or, here we go. So, guys, get your work in, get your licks in, get your reps in, do what you got to do, make yourselves better. I'm Bobby Sampson. He's Mr. Chance Michaels.
In the words of the great AC/DC, those that download, like, and subscribe to the podcast, we salute you.
We do salute you, and I think this is going to be my new tagline here, brother. Do not do anything to justify your life. Only do the things that are going to change your life. And people who hate on you, hate on themselves more than you could even imagine. Samp and Chance are